Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
Did anyone else have a strange spiritual experience when you were pregnant?
Experience 1. Sometime in my second trimester, I had a strange experience. I had woken up early in the morning and closed my eyes to go back to sleep a little more. I found myself completely relaxed in an in-between sleep and awake state. I started to have this dream when I sat on the swing in our backyard. I was just kind of sadly kicking myself back and forth on the swing with my head down. I've been struggling with depression and had a difficult pregnancy. Suddenly, I felt this invisible force like a gust of wind come up from behind me. It took me up in the swing until I was swinging high and felt happy and energized for the first time in so long. Like the invisible wind being was pushing me and letting me have fun and feel like I was flying. Usually, I get motion sick really easily, but this was so enjoyable and fun, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Then this high energy vibration took over my whole body. At this point, I was fully awake again, and it felt like I was buzzing with this vibration, and it was very pleasant. Like my consciousness was more awake and alive than usual, hard to describe. After several seconds of this, I popped back to normal. Was this a weird pregnancy thing, or was the spirit of my child entering my body, or am I just crazy? Experience 2. I fell asleep nursing my newborn and dreamed my late grandma picked her up and put her in the bassinet next to the bed. I woke up in a panic that I fell asleep on the baby, but she was safe in the bassinet and I was still in a sitting position holding the boppy pillow. I was super sleep deprived, so probably a dream, but it stuck with me. I really would have loved for them to meet. Experience 3. For me, it was just a knowing. I knew my daughter was going to be a girl and I knew my son was going to be a boy. For the life of me, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I couldn't think of any boy names, and when I was pregnant with my son, no girl names came to mind. Experience 4. Not while pregnant, but certainly right after giving birth, many strange things happening around me and my baby. They lasted for a couple of years. I'm not ready to talk about it because I know who was visiting my kiddo, and it still hurts too much. Experience 5. I'm currently pregnant with my second, and although I didn't experience anything unusual with my first, her existence in my life sparked a huge spiritual awakening and transformed me from a total skeptical materialist into someone who now experiences lucid dreams semi-regularly and has managed to astral project intentionally once. Not to mention an unintentional OB and many impossible synchronicities. My daughter also appears to have psychic tendencies and has talked about experiences that sound a lot like past life memories. This time around, I'm experiencing very vivid dreams, sometimes lucid, and even to the point where I cannot distinguish them from reality. Some have been spiritual in nature, but most are false awakenings that resemble my everyday life with one or two odd features. I absolutely think pregnancy and having a child can connect you to the spiritual in a way you never have been before. Experience 6. My grandmother definitely visited and held my kids when I was pregnant. I had distinct vibrant dreams of seeing her in her favorite chair, holding a baby, my grandfather hovering like he always did, and her telling me it was her turn, not mine, and I had to wait. I could smell her scent and feel her presence so strongly that I knew it was more than a dream. At my last, she told me I was having a boy whom I didn't know at the time. I felt comfort knowing she was with their spirits before they joined me on Earth. Experience 7. No, not crazy. During a 12-hour drive as BD and I drove in the direction of the sunset, I suddenly felt like I connected with a baby girl. I was in complete and total bliss, even teared up because right at that moment, I felt like I have always known her, and we'd been together in spirit since the start of time. We both just knew each other so well right at that moment, and the kicker was my EDD was 3 days before my birthday, but sure enough, as I had hoped and expected, I naturally went into labor on my birthday. Best birthday gift ever, and still convinced I have always known her.
If you're enjoying today's video, smash that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos and interesting stories. Now let's get back to the stories of our lives.
Experience 8. Yes. I posted about this a few days ago. I'm 23 weeks, and this is a pregnancy after 4 losses. I had the greatest dream I've ever had, but it felt real. I was at a party with all people I loved. I soon realized that everyone at the party was gone in real life. However, I wasn't scared. My adoptive mother was there. She's been gone 6 years. We chatted and had an amazing time. I could feel the warmth of the sunroom on my skin, the itchy chair scratching my legs, and I swear I could smell her perfume. We talked all about pregnancy, and she explained that some things were normal. We snuggled on the couch, and then she kissed my forehead and said we would be together soon. I cried and asked her if I could please stay, but she gave me a hug and said it would all be worth it. I woke up so confused as to where I was and where she was, but most of my anxiety from this pregnancy is now gone. It's not unusual for my dreams to be vivid, but this was something different. Experience 9. I met my first son in dreams a few times before he was born. They were lucid and very vivid, and I will never forget them. In one, I saw him as an older kid, like 8-ish, and he looked exactly like he looks in real life at age 8. Experience 10. Didn't know the gender or that the baby would have a long, complicated NICU stay when I had a dream about it. I had a dream around 14 weeks that I was at my parents' house to introduce the new baby, but I parked really far from their house and went inside without the baby. My mom asked, "Where's the baby? Why did you leave it outside? It's freezing." I go to the car to get the baby, and it was a long, cold, windy walk. As I pulled the baby out of the carrier, I was like, "Why are you wearing all blue?" "Oh, so you're a boy." So, I woke up without a doubt in my mind the baby was a boy. Also, I fully believe my intuition or some power was trying to prepare me for a NICU experience with this dream by showing me he would be away from me at first and I would go home without him. Experience 11. I've never been pregnant, and I really doubt I ever will be at this point. I'm 25 and just have too much going on. But I've had this dream 3 times in the last 7 months, where I've been pregnant, felt my baby inside me, in labor, I delivered the baby, and felt the baby on my chest, cuddles, everything. In the most recent dream, I put the baby down in a bassinet next to my side of the bed and laid down. I woke up looking for my baby and felt heartbroken that she wasn't there. I've had dreams about this girl, and I feel her presence of her. I ended up talking to a psychic about this, and she says I will have a daughter one day, but I shouldn't worry about when or why because it will happen one day. I don't think it will happen as I've chosen a career instead, but there is a comfort I feel knowing there's a baby angel waiting for me whether that happens in this lifetime or not. Experience 12. Back when I was expecting my son, I worked as a waitress in the town that my gran lived in, and currently still lives in. During this time my sister's friend moved in with us, and I offered to move in with my gran until she moved out so that she could share the room with my sister. It made sense because it saved me a ton of travel money. I used to stay at my gran's house fairly often before this, but only for a night at a time. When I lived with her, I stayed in the front room and was always fine with the light off, despite it being pretty dark at night, though there was a streetlight outside the window that would slightly illuminate the room. One night I remember waking up and feeling utterly terrified, which had never happened before. When I sat up, there was a patch in the room between the walk-in wardrobe and bedroom door that was inexplicably dark, darker than the rest of the room. This was odd because there was nothing to project a shadow, and the area in question was directly across from the partially illuminated window. Had to sleep with the lamp on every night after that because I was petrified of that dark mass. It wasn't until my son was born that things settled again. Experience 13. I remember when I was about 6 to 7 months pregnant, I had to go to the ER for a really bad UTI and I was having minor contractions with other difficulties. I left that ER feeling worried and with so many questions with no help from the doctors. The next morning, I remember also waking up and falling back asleep for a bit. Then I had a surreal dream that I was in my own mind, but it was a beautiful pink sky with moving clouds. I felt the presence of my daughter there, but I couldn't see her. I asked her, "Why don't you want to stay in there with me? We're so close," and I heard a baby's voice say, "But I do want to stay, Mommy," and I woke up feeling in a state of bliss. Experience 14. In the first few weeks after I gave birth, I had a couple of sleep paralysis episodes that were unlike any I've experienced before or since. One happened while I was still in the hospital. I sensed something running at me, stepping so hard it shook the whole room. It stopped just short of me, and I jerked awake. It was like something was being nasty and scaring me awake. The second I was sleeping in my glider, the baby was asleep in a bassinet across the room. I felt such a strange energy/presence all around me, muscles unresponsive, and heard an unearthly whisper say, "Hey you," and then it was gone. Experience 15. Before I knew I was pregnant, I was woken up by the feeling of someone poking me really hard in the butt. I mean full-on goosing me. It woke me up, and then once I was fully awake, it happened again. I freaked out and started mentally shielding myself from a possible spiritual attack when I got a strong sense that this was my child spirit trying to enter my body. So, the next time it happened, I let it in. The same exact sensation happened with my daughter. Experience 16. During my second pregnancy, about 5 months into it, I had complications and my obstetrician told me that I might lose the pregnancy. I was very worried and depressed. One night, I had a dream that my grandmother, who had long before that time passed away, visited me. She said, "Don't you worry, this baby is going to be all right." After having that dream, I felt such a sense of peace. Whether it was just my imagination comforting me or it really was my grandmother, it turned out to be correct. Despite my obstetrician's concerns, I carried her to full term and gave birth to a healthy baby. Experience 17. Well, I had a near-death experience, so it opened me up so quickly and I started seeing people on the other side. I don't do it all the time now, in fact. Yeah, I can if I really try, but most of the time I don't. But I have psychic experiences all the time. And when I had the near-death experience, I was outside of my body, but I'm totally at peace and happy. I could hear people I could hear moving around and doing stuff and telling me to fight for my baby. And then I was just there. I woke up, I was just there. I had liver-induced and they used a suppository of some kind, and they told me, they said, "Oh, it's mostly finding women, 1,000 people have a reaction to it." I guess that day I was 1 in 1,000. Experience 18. With my first, I would get this strange sense of anxiety and then know who was about to call. Then the phone would ring. I don't have that ability now. With my second, I knew almost immediately something wasn't going to go right. I prepared my husband ahead of time, showing him pics of babies born at each week of gestation, so he knew how tiny preemies were. I had my son at 27 weeks, and he was 1 pound 9 ounces. I'm the opposite of a psychic when I'm not pregnant. I am awful at predicting. Pregnancy totally reverses that for me. So odd. Experience 19. The first time I was able to actually visualize and recognize my baby in utero was towards the end of a women's movement and meditation weekend workshop when I was 3 to 4 months along. It was a very profound experience for me, but it turns out it also was for my husband. I told him what I saw and felt a day or two later, and he got weirded out and asked me what time it happened. Turns out, while he was at work, he experienced an incredibly vivid daydream/hallucination for several minutes where he could see our future daughter playing and interacting with him at his business at the exact same time I was having my experience. Was beautiful but freaky. We've since had a few shared, weird outside of reality type experiences via dreams and anesthesia.
If you've enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and check out more videos from the channel.